There's no doubt that Tom Finnie and Art Lundahl were influential architects of a new tradecraft that had not existed prior to the work that they were doing.
Art Lundahl was a visionary. Art Lundahl was able to see where he could take the business of what we now call imagery intelligence, geospatial intelligence, to places where I think most people didn't think we could take it before.
Tom Finnie understood what space was going to do in the field of geospatial information.
What further distinguished them was their absolute dedication to education and training to make sure that the next generation would be able to follow in their footsteps and beyond.
Coming out of World War II, the United States found itself with an adversary about which it knew very little, the Soviet Union.
The tremendous challenge was, how do you accurately position locations in denied areas?
The U-2 program was the first systematic, sustained effort to see the Soviet Union by flying over it. The U.S. for the first time could see the observables on where the Soviet military bases were.
Finnie's side would be measuring those sites in terms of their precise location, the relationship to the launch sites, while Lundahl would be determining more information about what kind of missile is in it, what are its capabilities, what kind of activities are taking place there.
So one was broad area coverage, routes and positioning, and the other was situation oriented on did we need to respond, what was going on politically. But when you look at geospatial intelligence, you need both. You need both to get the solution.
My dad loved the United States. His work had a lot to do with the security, and we never realized till years later how close we were to World War III during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
October the 27th, 1962 is a critical day that I'll never forget in my life, because that morning we briefed Lundahl that all 24 missile pads were operational, meaning that within 4 to 6 hours there could be 24 missiles coming at the United States. And I remember Lundahl was very pensive. He put his hand to his chin and he leaned over and he reflected for a considerable period of time. And then he looked at me and he said, I don't want to scare the hell out of them, but I want to make sure that they understand the threat.
You know, the old line, a picture is worth 1,000 words. A picture where you understand the content of the picture because someone who is knowledgeable explains it to you is worth even more.
Lundahl was very oriented to helping the president and the national security staff make decisions, and therefore he was situation oriented in particular areas of the world, tracking them, following them.
What Lundahl did was build imagery as one of the pillars of the information flow that comes to the U.S. intelligence community.
The threat of the Soviets coming into Western Europe was crucial. Asia and China was scaring the hell out of us. The weapons were just beginning to come to reality, and the recognition that they had to have geospatial data came with it. This was all beginning to happen as DMA was being formed.
The Defense Mapping Agency was formed from 3 major organizations, Army, Navy, and Air Force mapping groups. These people had different cultures, they had different technology, they produced different products, and they had different traditions.
Tom Finnie was the architect that laid out the amalgamation process that brought the talent together across DMA.
I think that was one of the greatest achievements that I know of anywhere, is to bring that desperate group together and get them all marching, at least most of them marching in the same direction.
Both men were passionate about the country, our form of government, and the health and wealth of the nation. There's no question. They were great leaders for it.
They did their work at a time that was very critical to the United States. They developed a capability that didn't exist before they really came along.
One huge aspect of this award is finding out all of the specific projects that Dad worked on and how they fit into winning the Cold War. I get cold shivers and I have to fight off tears every time I talk about it.
He loved what he did. He loved every day that he worked, and he was always doing something interesting, and there was never a boring moment. The fact that this award is named after my father gives me chills. I am humbled by it, but I'm also so proud that his legacy as a human being who did so much for this country is carried on.
USGIF is an educational foundation. It's our responsibility to understand and celebrate the contributions of those that came before us. What Tom Finnie did for mapping and what Art Lundahl did for imagery analysis really laid the foundation for what we know today as geospatial intelligence. And that makes it completely appropriate to name this award in their honor.